in what we have now in the King James Bible. That seems to be these fanatics that Bruce McConkie is referring to. But let's look a little more closely at this other group that he's talking about. Those who believe that the Bible has not come down to us in its perfect form. And he's right. This is known by all reputable scholars and anyone who knows anything about the history of the Bible. But the question is, what does that mean? Bart Ehrman, the guy who wrote Misquoting Jesus, he has his opinion as to what that means. And he takes the approach that since we don't have the original autographs and that the Bible has been changed, though accidentally in many cases, but also purposefully in some cases, that shows that we can't have this photographic certainty of what the original autographs were. But that's not the universal consensus amongst scholars. There are other scholars, such as Dan Wallace, who's by all means credible and reputable, who do not hold to the same conclusions as Bart Ehrman. And what he would suggest is that we have a tenacious text of the Bible that, though the Bible has not come down to us in one perfect form, we can, through methods of textual criticism, come to a very, very complete knowledge of what the original writings were. But Bruce McConkie does not explain this. And just notice the kind of leap he comes to when he discusses how corrupt the Bible actually is. And next he quotes from what I think is the teachings of Joseph Smith from the 8th Article of Faith. He says, quote, "I believe the Bible as it is read when it came from the pen of the original writers," the prophet said. "Ignorant translators, careless transcribers, or designing and corrupt priests have committed many errors." Wow! This is just the Da Vinci Code of the 19th century. Speaking of these corrupt priests who have committed these errors in changing the Bible, show me, where is the evidence for this? Where is the hard facts showing that the church made these types of errors? I'm not aware of these. This is pure and total conjecture. Not even Bart Ehrman, at least not that I'm aware, would make such an allegation about the pages of the Scripture throughout the centuries. Yes, there have been accidental changes. Yes, there have been purposeful changes, but not this type of widespread conspiracy to change the Bible in this type of way. And if this type of change happened, we would have manuscript evidence. But through methods of textual criticism, we can find out when this happened and why this happened. And this isn't discussed here. It's just alleged that corrupt priests have committed these errors in changing the writings of the pages of Scriptures. But again, that's just pure conjecture without evidence. I'll continue. Nephi recorded that the Bible in its original form contained the plainness of the gospel of the Lord. After it had passed through the hands of a great and abominable church, which is most abominable above all other churches, however, he saw that many plain and precious things were deleted, in consequence of which error and falsehood poured into the various churches. This is really, really interesting to me because this kind of talks about the boldness of Mormonism, and it's really something that I don't see too much today. When the Mormons come to my door and they talk about the Bible being corrupt, they don't use this firm of language. It's understandable. You don't want to just come across and say you're part of a great and abominable church, and your priests have corrupted the scriptures. They're not going to come across and say things like they do, but this just really illustrates something profound to me, and that's just how wide Mormons believe this corruption to be. And if you read 1 Nephi chapter 13 out of the Book of Mormon, and that's what Bruce McConkie is quoting, it really illustrates how serious this accusation is, that the church corrupted the Bible in such a way that these many plain and precious things were deleted. In fact, he goes as far as to say that these original writings contain the plainness of the gospel of the Lord. And if you read Nephi, or 1 Nephi chapter 13, he talks about us, that's including me, preaching a different gospel. That's just the implications. If we're preaching from this corrupt text that somehow deleted parts of the gospel, we are preaching a different gospel. And if you want to know how serious that really is, read Galatians chapter 1. And you can see how serious Paul views those who change the gospel. And in my opinion, I think such a serious allegation needs to have the very best evidence to back it up. Because from what I'm seeing here is pure conjecture based on this huge leap of both history and logic. Because Bruce